people around who call themselves architects.
Professionals.
Yes, who really haven't actually gone through the process of being called an architect. Many haven't gone through the process of being called an engineer. It is critical, I must mention, that people, whenever you're going into a building, get qualified people who have a lot at stake, who know that to give you the best for your building is just what should be, nothing more, nothing less.
Now let's begin today's conversation taking our quote from Walt Disney, American multinational entertainment and media conglomerate, once said that you can dream, create, design and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it requires people to make the dream a reality. Wow. Absolutely spot on, if you ask me. Now let's take our second quote, and this one is coming from Benjamin Franklin, American polymath who was active as a writer, a scientist, inventor, statesman, diplomat, printer, publisher, and political philosopher. He once said, "The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten." These quotes are really absolutely spot on, if you agree. Now let's see how this relates to what we will be discussing today. Warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We're reaching you from Captain's Television Studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabelle Oji. Now, buildings are civil engineering structures constructed in various forms with different materials and for specific uses. For example, to provide shelter for lives and properties. A building is built with considerations for safety, serviceability, and economy. Now, building collapse is a failure in a structure due to its inability to serve the purpose for which it was built. Building collapse in Nigeria in the last few decades is a growing concern for investors and the government alike. Now, many of the documented cases of building collapse in Nigeria are due to the use of defective and substandard building materials, no requisite technical knowledge, non-adherence to building codes and standards, the use of non-professionals, and high level of corruption which has ravaged the construction industry, including government and private parastatals. Now, in addition to the established causes of the collapse of structures, empirical data from developed countries of the world has shown that many of the recorded cases in this climb are due to the fact that the current codes of practice do not make provisions for unexpected loads, and an unexpected failure of a single member may lead to an all-round collapse of the entire structure. Now, on the show today, my guest is a very beautiful architect. She's Agathachristie Irabor. She is construction and a consultant architect. She is one of those who, I believe, one of those women who have shattered the glass ceiling and is still shattering the glass ceiling in a male-dominated profession. Yes, you are right. What a man can do, a woman can do better. Now, you'll get to meet her in just a moment. And aside that, now, did you actually follow that video that went viral where some people came together, UNIJOS Alumni, they came together to help crowdfund and then help one of their mentally unstable colleague who went mentally unstable during his final year of defense in his master's. And then that video actually went viral and it caused a lot of emotions for a lot of people. If you did not see that video, I will put it up so you can see it. And afterwards, we'll be back to get on with this conversation. I'll see you shortly.
I don't believe. Oh, artist now. Oh, man. You know who it is.
If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from Catherine's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we have our guest. She is Agathachristie Irabor. She is a consultant architect. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you. All right, so you are one of those very strong women who has shattered the glass ceilings and excelling in a male-dominated profession as an architect and a construction engineer. So at least I've seen one of your projects, humongous, absolutely phenomenal. So now walk us through, how has it been for you? Is it a walk in the park, or you just have to roll up your sleeves, boot up, get your helmets on and get right to work?
Well, thank you so much for that, Annabelle. I wouldn't want to say I've broken the glass ceiling. I'm still work in progress.
Okay.
Working in the field of construction, it's just as you rightly said, it's a male-dominated field, but in recent years we've been having quite a number of female doing their own bits in the construction industry here in Nigeria and other parts of the world. So for me, it's not been a walk in the park. I can assure you that. It's been a period of pushing. It's been a period of constant work. Nothing left unturned. You know, you're in a place where there are so many other males in the field. I tell you, if you have a good number of males and females in a particular environment, and most people still want to go with the male counterparts. So what actually pushes the females out there will probably be your work.
Okay.
You know, what you've done and what they're actually capable of seeing tangibly that you can actually deliver. Otherwise, most times they in my experience and what people want to do is get the architect to the office where you are doing designs, you know, and all of that. Many people, most don't dabble into, you know, both the design and the field work, you know, and all of that. But right from the inception of my career, even as a student architect, I always wanted to be have a mix of both, or more so the project management. You know, as in getting my hands dirty on site, you know, and all of that. I recall even as a student architect then with shelter work and Dachi work group, I always wanted to be taken to the side with the senior architects who were around instead of hanging out in the studio. You know, then we didn't have laptops and all of that where we could work with. We actually usually had big studios where architect, technologists, draftsmen and all of that work in a group. You know, so but I always wanted to have a feel of the building itself. Probably reason why I'm here today, because quite a number of things around I have put my fingers on.
Oh, great. Okay, so now what kind of encouragement or dissuasions do you get from especially the male counterparts? Because I'm sure that you must have met some people who would say that, who believe that women are supposed to be in the whole order room.
Well, I must confess here that my male counterparts, fellow architects, are fantastic. I've never really had an opportunity where you say you a situation where anyone plays down on your intelligence regarding any issues. I haven't had that, and the bulk of my work team and my work history has actually been with my male counterparts. So I've well, for a few negligible incidences here and there, but the males in my field are actually very, very understanding, and they know one's what when you are able to bring it to the table.
Okay, so we always hear that women who are in a male-dominated area, especially as engineers, they don't have time to take care of themselves or do their makeup or even be in trend. But you don't look like one who is always in the field.
Okay, well, just to a little bit of correction, I am an architect, not an engineer. They are two different professions, though we are all professionals in the building industry. Well, I would say that I guess my training kick-started from my home. My mom always used to say, looking good is good business. And she'd always drummed that in all of us. So the issue of taking care of myself is something that is just not, it's not negotiable. I always look my best, whether I'm going to site, or I'm in an office, or I'm in a conference room with stakeholders and all of that. I try to look my best and look the part.
Oh, great. Okay, so now let's talk about construction and erecting a building. Now, with the incessant reports of collapsed building in Nigeria, when you thought that it has actually ended, you get to hear more reports, because recently we just heard of one that happened especially in Lagos. So what exactly are the root causes of this incessant building collapse, especially in swampy areas like Lagos? Is it something that is actually detectable at a particular time when that a building cannot stand the test of time? Is this something that you should know even right from the beginning? Because we're actually told that every building starts with you, the architect. So at what point do you start, should you be able to notice that this will definitely happen, and where do you come in all of this?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very, very salient question in these times we find ourselves in. You see, the arts and science of erecting of a design and erecting of a building, it's globally is regulated.
Oh,
yeah, it's regulated, and let nobody tell you otherwise. I don't know of any country in the world that people just get up one day and don't follow the regulations of putting up a building. And it's no different in Nigeria, where the building architecture, so to say, it's a regulated profession in the country. So also my allied professionals, you have the engineers, you have the surveyors, you have the planners, etc. They're all regulated professions. So when, for instance, a client comes to you and have an ideas of a design, and supposing, just as your question allude to, it's in a swampy area. Now, the first thing you begin to work on as an architect is to draw your team together, because in such a place you have a special kind of soil. So now what do? You get your surveyors in there, get the soil engineers in there to be able to give you the kind of soil, soil that is really, really obtainable, the level and the depth at which your foundation base should be able to sit, and then be able to carry the building, irrespective of whatever is happening in the surface. That's in terms of rains, and all of that. So if you don't get to do that even from the onset of the building, the design stage, it's already a problem. So you must, as a matter of principle, get your team together, make sure you get the soil type, and then the structural engineers should be able to come in and then ascertain what kind of foundation structures should go in there before commencement of any project. It is very, very extremely critical.
Okay, now, so taking a cue from what you said, and then the recent 21-story building in Ikoyi that collapsed recently. Now, there have been so many information flying on and off social media. Now, let's view this, the possible reason for this from your professional lens. Now, some people say it's cement, some people say it's regulation problem. Now, so could it be that the foundation, because you talked about the foundation, you should check how the depth of what the foundation can carry, especially in terms of the building. So could it be a problem of the foundation or the materials that were used? Some say it might be expired cement, and then some which must have been used, or maybe a problem during the calculations from the architect and all, or probably missing of components. A lot of things went online. So because just like they say, there's the subsystem, when one is faulty, it will definitely affect the other ones. They will be affected. So from your professional lens, things like that, what could have been the possible reason for this?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. But I wouldn't want to double into the collapse, the 21 collapse building in Ikoyi, Lagos. But I can give you a general profile of why some of these things happen. You know, initially I've talked about getting proper soil analysis on the soil where a particular building should be. Now, when you get in there and then you are completely ascertain what should be, the design takes off. And when the design takes off, the type of foundation is noted, the kind of materials that are going to be used, and in what quantity.
Is that also your job to give?
Yeah, it's a team. You know, now when you're doing you get your design out as an architect, you're bringing in other team members.
Okay.
As I earlier said, you have your structural elements, your structural designs there. You have your mechanical designs. You have your electrical designs, even the planners, and all of that. Now, I have an idea of how I want my switch box to be. I know where my lighting systems and all of that should be. But who handles that? It's the electrical engineers. Now, I know what I want for my mechanical works, how I want my mechanical works to look. I have an idea. I know what I want for the finished product. But who will help me get that in place is the mechanical engineer. Also, when you're talking about the structure of the building, I want a building that should look this way. Probably I want a building that looks slanty, but it should be structurally sound to be able to live to the test of time. Now the structural engineer comes in. So what in essence I'm saying is all the professionals who are involved in all these parts of the building come together. And now when the structures are generally put in place by the team, and this building goes for assessment, because as I earlier said, it's a regulated profession. You don't even at the end of the end of your designs just move to site. No, you have to go to the regulatory body who be able to ascertain what actually works. They work in line with the planning systems of the city, and see that whatever you're putting up there actually goes in line with everything. So in essence, from the onset of the life of a building, the structural components of that building are key. So now when you get to site and you're setting out and you're trying to get your site ready to take up the building, every single specifications that were on the designs are supposed to be followed. Now, you discover that because of you and I know how the prices of building materials have just gone up, you know, because of forex and all other economic factors. You know, people tend to drop the standards of some of these specifications that are given, and it's a no-no. It's a no-no. And I want to say here that for people who are into building, it would be advisable for you to get qualified professionals, because I can assure you that a qualified professional who knows the importance of putting up a building and putting up a building in the right manner will not want to cut corners. He wouldn't. I, for one, no, I wouldn't. And at any stage in a building, the life of a building, you know, during the period of construction, if as a professional you notice that some of these standards, basic standards, are being tampered
compromised
with, yes, it is your duty as a professional to bring that to book. And if you're either the contractor or the owner of the structure is not ready to listen and take note, do the right thing, you're duty bound to report to the authorities. You're duty bound to actually even move away from that project, because at the end of the day, if you go along with such a project that already has faults, I mean, even if the building comes down, what happens? Your reputation is at stake. One, and it wouldn't be good. I keep saying it at different forums I find myself in. I recall my years in the university. This has stuck with me. One of my lecturers always used to say, our structural instructors always used to say how important the structure of a building is. And for doctors, nurses and all of that, people who work with our health system, if they make a mistake, what happens? A single human being dies, which is sad as it is. But in our own case, if you let these problems tarry and a building comes down, I mean, if it's a building like a 21-story building, and maybe that building is in full capacity in terms of work is going on in full capacity, you can imagine how many lives will be lost. So our work, it's extremely critical that you stick to the rules, because when once the rules are being broken, it becomes a problem on its own. And the rules, not just not the rules of even sticking to the standards in the drawing, but even the kind of materials that come to your site. You should be able to vet what kind of materials are being used, if they actually meet the standards of what was specified.
Okay, so now I'm sure a lot of people will say that before now, when there were, some people will say they don't even know that there's anyone called an architect. So they used to just build arbitrarily, and then still those buildings were able to stand. At least at that time, there were no architects so much or as much as it is now. But yet you still have building that stood the test of time. So does it actually mean that every single detail that you give as an architect matters in a structure?
Absolutely. Okay. And I just want to say that it's something that is free, it's out there in the open, you can Google it. Most of the buildings, even away from our own country, you go to Europe, Americas and all of that, people who actually did these buildings were architects. Yeah, they were architects. It's just that in recent times, some of these professions have been streamlined. Where you say there's architects, engineers, and all of that. But if you look at the likes of Picasso, the likes of Michelangelo and the rest, they were actually architects. You see, somebody is an architect, is an artist, is an engineer, and all of that. There were people. An architect is one who actually designs and builds. So if you are able to do those calculations as early as probably the 2nd century, and you are able to put up a building that can stay the test of time, it means that you actually did a design and followed through with all the calculations that went through with the design. That's just it. And for us in Nigeria, you realize that there's some of the colonial buildings. Yes, the colonial buildings that are still in existence. Take a look at maybe you want to do a bit of some research on that. You realize that those buildings were actually weren't just put in there. In
fact, some people will say that the old buildings, the old houses, they're the ones that even last more than what you see these days.
Exactly, because then when you are giving an instruction to a worker, do this, do that, that's exactly what they do. For some reason, the generation we are in needs far more intense supervision than it was before.
Okay.
You know, my siblings and I were trying to do a little bit of some renovations in my mom's home in the village. And in all truth, the artisan we brought to knock up a bit of the lintel system couldn't break through. This building was done in the 80s, and we're just trying to do some sort of retrofitting to make, you know, put better doors and all of that. And we now realize that I know for a fact that the fellow who did that design isn't even an architect. He is an urban designer.
Okay.
But in essence, what am I saying? The materials that were used weren't even your conventional materials that you know about. I can tell you that on the lintel, they didn't use rods on the lintel. But what they used was the for some reason, I don't know where that I'm still trying to work on that the possibilities of such materials, local building materials. The bulk of the lintel formation was made up of gravels, not the chippings we know, the normal gravels down south, you know, the round ones, and the palm kernels.
Ooh.
Yes, that's what was used in between, and I was completely blown away because we couldn't. It took a while for us to be able to to break and get the new doors retrofitted into that space. You know, so what in essence am I saying? For some reason, the generation we find ourselves now is people want to do things fast.
And compromise.
You know, people want to do things fast. You know, sometimes you are on site, you see someone who came in to help a mason to, you know, lift sand, cement, mortar and all of that to help with the building process. The next 1 month, he say he's a mason. Hasn't gone through the right, you know, the right tutelage to be able to handle blocks, understand exactly why the sand mix should be the way it is, why you must use a plumb to make sure your walls are properly aligned, you know, and all of that. And they tell you they are masons.
They're masons.
So it's a challenge that all hands must actually be on deck.
Okay.
Right now for us to be able to get over some of these building collapse that are going on around.
Okay, so if you have to start checking, if you want to start checking how this building collapse or what actually is the problem, who do you hold culpable? The architect or who?
You know, for each building, if there's a collapse, for each buildings, the results after forensic investigations and all of that, different buildings comes with different results at the end of it. Sometimes it's the materials that were used.
Okay. Sometimes
it's the kind of supervisions that were on site, that and then even sometimes is the professionals. You know, there are many professionals. There are people around who call themselves architects.
Professionals.
Yes, who really haven't actually gone through the process of being called an architect. Many haven't gone through the process of being called an engineer. It is critical, I must mention, that people, whenever you're going into a building, get qualified people who have a lot at stake, who know that to give you the best for your building is just what should be, nothing more, nothing less.
Okay. All right, let's go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue this conversation with Agathachristie Irabor. I will see you in a moment.
You know, the good thing about it is that Hillary's case is such that if over time he had received proper medical care, probably he wouldn't have been in the situation he is, because he's still very sane, extremely.
I heard so many people talking about him, saying that he knows when he's asked about a particular building, he draws them completely.
Yes, absolutely. He still gives you. He can actually analyze a building totally.
Wow. Now,
the video that went viral, my colleague and classmate who hugged him, you saw that video?
Yes.
The chap who hugged him, architect Suleiman Ibrahim. You know, he remembered his matriculation number.
Wow.
This is 1992. He remembered, you know, during the period of conversations after they have removed him out of the village, and you know, my colleagues took him out of the village. We gave him a haircut, pedicure, manicure,
wow.
and took him to a dentist and all of that, and they all slept together in the room.
If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. We still have our guest, Agathachristie Irabor. She is a consultant architect, and if you just joined us, you missed quite a lot, but then you can still join in the conversation. Okay, so before we went on that break, we've said quite a lot of things that could be wrong with building collapse. But now, you come to think of the fact that we have regulatory bodies, especially in Nigeria. We have the Standard Organization of Nigeria, you have COREN, we have a department that should constantly check standards of this building. So when some inferior product floods the market or is being used, you should know the first finger that should be pointed to and who exactly. So does it mean that our regulators are being complicit, or they just totally turn blind eyes to all of this? And do you think that they're actually doing enough?
Thank you very much. From my own perspective, I think that the regulators are not doing enough.
Okay.
They should be able to do more. They're doing their work, but more should be done. Because, for instance, when I started practice, I started after leaving school about 20 years ago or thereabout. The size of a typical 12 mm, you could actually do a measurement of it and get a 12 mm. But right now, what's a 12 mm, even physically looking at it, without having to put in your caliper there to get the measurement of that, you know that it has dropped. You know, so, well, even if it drops, what are the components within the steel member? Are they still strong enough to be able to handle a stress of
a 12 mm
that's supposed to be?
Okay.
These are the things that, as I said before, everybody has to work. It's a collective thing.
Okay.
The agencies who actually are supposed to be concerned with what kind of products come out to the market should do their job.
Okay.
And do it to the best of their abilities. You know, when you have you go to our markets now, our local markets, timber market, and you're looking for a 2x2 wood for whatever purpose, you realize that most 2x2s are actually now 1x1. Ooh. So what I do in my projects, and I tell my clients, if you can't go this route, I can't be held responsible for whatever. I may very well step aside or just allow you get someone else to do it. Because my materials, I'm always concerned about that. And all people I've worked with over time, when there's a need for the works, the materials to get to site, I try to get them from the source, so that what is due to be used is what we have on the site. Okay. Because at the end of the day, if you run into troubles, especially for someone like me, who is, as we earlier rolled out, a female in a male-dominated world, you don't want the works, you know, the good name and the works you've built over time to go down the drain because of a project that will bring you down. Okay. You know, it's right now for me, I have worked to a level where most of my jobs comes in through referrals. Okay. So you can imagine, I wouldn't want in any way to jeopardize that. So whatever I'm doing it to make sure those standards that were always there will be maintained. Okay. And I tell you, it's the same thing across board with my professional colleagues who are actually professionals, who know what they're doing. You know, so I would advise that anyone who is thinking of going into any form of construction or the other, please get professionals.
Okay.
Get professionals to do your work.
All right. So now, are there punitive measures, because could be meted on those who default? Because I've actually seen and heard the vice president of Building Collapse Guild that was set up, Prevention Guild that was set up to look into the 21-story building collapse a few days ago. She said that the government when the government makes up their mind to punish defaulters, then definitely something good will come out of it. But at now, nothing is done. And according to her, she inspected the synagogue building collapse. She also inspected the Ikoyi building collapse, and then a lot of them that she has inspected, even one in Isaleko that happened recently. And then she said that nothing yet has been done. Nothing yet has come out of it. It's just them coming together, and then no punitive measures is being done. So how much of a punitive measure is being done, especially when you bring people together to check these buildings, and then any disciplinary measure afterwards?
Yeah, you see, the issue of punitive measures is multidimensional. If after a building collapse and there's an investigation on it, and you now get you now realize that and in most cases that's the case, people who are involved aren't actually, they call themselves architects, engineers and all of that, but in essence they aren't. So when you're looking at a profile of architects in Nigeria, you can't find their names in there. You're looking at engineers, you can't find their names there. You're looking at planners, you know, just about every other profession. This is the reason why I said, whenever you're going into any sort of project, anyone who wants to do the right thing, make sure you do your due diligence. These things are all out there in the open. You check ACON, and ACON, that's my own professional body. You check COREN. You must make, I mean, there's a whole lot of money involved in construction. You don't want to go into a building, even besides the fact that people may die, and which is a very, very, very serious thing. Your entire, probably your entire life savings or investment from people can just ruin your entire life. You know, so what in essence am I saying? Do due diligence. Now, coming back to holding people accountable. If you have such, how do you handle such a person who has no ties to any,
no background,
no professional body to be able to? Because for us, in my institute, there are several cases of that's the Nigerian Institute of Architects. There are several cases of people reporting one form of misbehavior or the other. And such architects are actually dealt with professionally. Some, their licenses are being revoked, you know, and all of that. And at that level, that's the best we can do. And if there's a need for one to go further, you can go to a court of competent jurisdiction, and then find out if the architect is liable to manslaughter or whatever it is that needs to be meted. You know, some of these things, we all are involved. You see, sometimes these buildings, the building collapse, and then the owners of such buildings, after a whole lot of processes of finding all of that, people just say, there's a balance in Nigeria that say, I leave it to God. I leave it to God. God, for crying out loud, cannot come and make our system work better. You understand? I'm of the belief that for everything that needs to be done right, it should be done right. The idea of people always saying, just let it be and all of that is actually not in me. For people who know me very well, I am that straight. If there's something that needs to be done, I will not pass by and there's something going on wrong, I just sweep it aside for whatever reason. And if most Nigerians come on board and begin to do the right thing, not even in the building industry, other parts of our human and national life, things will be better for us. The truth of the matter is that a whole lot of corruption has eaten up deep. Yes, into the fabric of our systems, the society. So that also translates. That's what you see in the construction industry too.
Okay, very quickly now, looking at you talked about due diligence. If one has to do this due diligence, how do you go about it, especially for an investing or a buying public who is interested in getting a building? Now, what are the questions, what are the critical questions you should be asking? Because at the end of the whole building that has been erected, all you see is the glitz and the glamour, all you see is the lightings, the designs, and you're like, yes, I love this building, I want to go in, but you're not sure of what will happen. It might be that in the next few years you start seeing cracks on the foundation. So beyond the glitz and the glamour, what kind of questions should you ask as a buying public or investing public?
Okay, I think the question you just asked is in two dimensions. I believe that for anyone who wants to purchase any kind of goods, you do your due diligence. Now, for instance, you want to buy a pad. I'm not sure anybody just walks into a shop, a phone shop, to pick up any pad. I can bet on it that for every individual who walks into a shop, he must have done a few due diligence. These are the things I want in a pad. These are the features I want. This is the strength and all of that before going into, and then even looking at the make, you know, before going into a shop or purchasing it online or whichever method you're using to purchase your goods. It's the same thing with the building.
Okay. You
want to do due diligence. Look at whoever has done that. Whoever has put up that building, who are the what have they done over time?
Okay.
What are their antecedents? And if it's an individual kind of enterprise, you check and see that this person can actually bring forth. It doesn't take you anything to inquire, find out some of these basic information. Okay. You know, you get them anywhere you want to get. You get them from the professional bodies, you get them from the statutory bodies, you know, to be able to find out whoever you're bringing in is capable of doing that. Now you move around and realize that there are many real estate firms around.
Especially in Abuja.
Yes, in Abuja. Well, in Abuja and other parts, Lagos, you know, and all of that. You want to find out who they are, what kind of products they have delivered before.
Okay.
What kind of professionals are in their team. If they are the ones that you know, will be able to bring forth a building the way it was designed. Okay. These are the basic questions that you want to ask. It's important you do that. You know, if you can go ahead to do a research on buying a phone or a pad, or even when you go to your dentist to pick up your glasses, you ask several questions. It's the same thing with the building. You must do due diligence and get all the facts ticked. Okay. You know.
Okay, so now let's divert a little bit. Now there's this video that went viral online of you, your colleague, and some of the UNIJOS alumni who came together trying to crowdfund and pull funds together to help one of your mentally unstable colleague, who actually, according to what we saw in online, was that he just went mentally unstable during the defense of his masters. So talk to us a little bit about it. What comes to my mind is when I saw that video, it was an emotional time for me. The hugs, the greetings, the all, and I'm like, do you still have people like this? So now when they say we rise by lifting others, what does this mean to you?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that that particular adage means quite a lot to me. I enjoy charity. I enjoy you know, helping others. For those who know me very well, away from here, can attest to the fact, because my life for the past 22 years or so, I've been actively involved in charity works. And when it comes to things like this, I'm passionate about, completely passionate about. So what that means is, to me, in essence, is that helping others actually lifts you up. It's not just lifting you up physically. It's also a spiritual thing. You know, there's something you get out of yourself. There's an inner peace that comes to you when you see, especially when you get involved in causes where you really don't even have any sort of payments for, reward for.
It does do it voluntarily.
Yes, it actually gives you a spiritual upliftment. I'm talking completely out of my own personal experience. So it means a lot to me, and it's something that my classmates and I share. You know, we as a class, we came together not quite long ago, and we've just been, we reunited ourselves together in a WhatsApp chat group, and during the course of these conversations, we decided to look inward and see some of our mates who may be in one particular need or the other. We've actually done quite a number of things privately, but unfortunately, I don't know, fortunately for us, somehow it went viral.
Oh, so you didn't intend for it to go viral?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, wow.
And up till now, my classmates and I are in awe. How did that come about? Probably one of us posted to another schoolmate or whatever, and somebody posted,
the power of social media.
So that's how it came about, because it was never our intention for it to go viral. What were we going to gain by making it viral? So that's just what it is.
Okay,
and,
so even as we begin to round up, so how much or how far does your colleague or your alumni have decided to go with assisting your mentally unstable colleague? How far do you intend to go with it?
Oh no, we are going to we are totally involved in it. When I mean totally is that we are hopefully, by its grace, we are going to follow it up to the end. What we want to do is try and see that he gets stable, and then complete rehabilitation in terms of his mental health, and then probably reintegrate him back to normal society. Wow. So right now, he's in receiving proper medical care.
Okay.
He has a psychologist, and
is he responding very well?
Yes, he is.
Great.
Indeed. The good thing about it is that Hilary's case is such that if over time he had received proper medical care, probably he wouldn't have been in the situation he is, because he's still very sane. Extremely.
I heard so many people talking about him, saying that he knows when he's asked about a particular building, he draws them completely.
Yes, absolutely. He still gives you. He can actually analyze a building totally.
Wow.
Now the video that went viral, my colleague and classmate who hugged him. You saw that video.
Yes.
The chap who hugged him, architect Suleiman Ibrahim. He remembered his matriculation number.
Wow.
This is 1992. He remembered, during the period of conversations after they have removed him out of the village, and my colleagues took him out of the village. We gave him a haircut, pedicure, manicure, and took him to a dentist and all of that, and they all slept together in the room.
Wow.
Yes, before the next day, they now had to get a hospital for him to be rehabilitated. There were so many conversations. When I called, you will not believe, he remembered my full names, including my native name and my maiden name.
Wow.
Because of course now he does not know my married name, but he remembered everything. He's that good.
Wow.
He's that good. So we are totally committed to the works of rehabilitating Hilary to the end. So we are hoping that any well-meaning Nigeria who wants to help us can reach us to do whatever it is that the person feels like, or the corporate organization feels like they can do to push ahead this cause. So.
Great. We'll definitely get back to you when we talk and then get more on how people can help when they want to. But our hearts, our prayers, and all are solidly behind you at this. Thank you so much for your time with us, Agathachristie. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, you've heard it all from her. We rise by lifting others. That video was a very emotional one for me and for everyone who has actually watched it. In case you have not, we have put it already on the program, and you will definitely see it more and more. Thank you so much for being a part of today's program. I will see you again next time. From the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabelle Oji. God bless Nigeria.